Gaslands, which is a post-apocalyptic racing game, was recently brought to my attention again by some videos that popped up on YouTube. So I got thinking about what cars I'd like to build for my team, and I would have 3 base cars I'd really like: a Jeep, an ambulance, and a Grand Prix. Might be able to find them in the family collection of Matchbox cars that's for the most part unused. We're all a bit too old for Matchbox cars. And the nephews only play with them occasionally. It's not like they're gonna miss 1 or 2 out of this bin, or 6. Oh, come on. I did leave Lightning McQueen since I know he's a favorite. Although there are 2. Anyway, these are the ones I chose. So we have the contenders. I don't know if they want to win this or not, since they would be stripped of the paint and redone. But anyway, for that, I have some kind of cool cars that I considered working on, and I decided not to. So we got this little blue guy. I also have this red pickup. I also have this guy. He's pretty cool. The whole thing lifts up so you can work on the engine. And for ambulances, I did find some similar to what I was looking for. So we have this van. It's not quite what I want, but it's got the right vibe. I got this guy. It's closer to what I want. It's not quite as bulky. I'm thinking more like a shorter version. I'm not really feeling this one. And then we got this guy. And this guy's actually an ice cream truck. I don't think I'm going to do any of these ones, but ice cream truck could be pretty cool to go off that and make it into something crazy. As far as Jeeps, we got this guy. It's pretty basic. The Safari Jeep, which I think is pretty iconic. It'd be really fun to do. We got this guy. I'd have to take off his windshield, I think, because that would be completely shattered. Probably replace it with some mesh. That'd be pretty cool. I'm leaning towards him. Then I was not able to find a Grand Prix, but I did find, oh, you crashed a little bit farther. This guy. I think he's pretty cool. Also considered this one, but I really like the spoiler on the back, so I think I'm going to stick with that. Since I did not like any of the ambulances, I really have to go with one of these guys. So we got 3 or 4 different free cars. We got the cornflakes guy. We got the other kind of cornflakes guy. I don't know if he's actually cornflakes, but he's Kellogg's. We got Tide mini wheats, followed by another mini wheats, followed by a third mini wheats. So I think I really have to do one of these guys. There's just too many of them. I can't not do it. And besides, the hood opens up. It's supposed to open up. How cool is that? There's got to be something you can do with that. So anyway, mini wheats is definitely going to win one of the spots. Got this guy. And then I'm thinking the Jeep. I need something a little bit beefier, I think. Got 2 little cars. This guy's probably going to be a fast guy. I don't know the rules yet, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. So after choosing those 3, I figured I'd probably actually get a second team going, so I ended up choosing a Buick, the red pickup, and the race car. To start off with, I needed to drill out the metal that held the top and bottom pieces together. This went well for the first 5 cars, but I was too impatient to wait for the drill battery to fully charge. But it should have enough juice. Alright, now it should be good. Okay, let's just skip ahead to where we can pull the pieces apart. I was doing the cars in a bit of a batch, so I labeled a piece of paper with a description so I could pair the plastic and metal back together properly later. Following the craftsman recommendations, I gave the metal a nice bath to strip the paint. He used acetone, but I used MEK, which was recommended to me by the resident chemist. According to Google, MEK is basically a stronger version of acetone, so either should work. After a couple of hours, I pulled them out of the bath and, following RC's recommendations, rinsed them with water before scraping at the paint with my fingers. MEK isn't the nicest to people, so it'd probably be a good idea to wear gloves. If you don't have MEK, acetone should also work, but personally, I wouldn't recommend this method to anyone. I think it'd be better to just scuff up the paint and then prime over top of it. I ended up having to leave the cars in the bath for several days before I could get all the paint off, which meant I no longer had time to mod all 6 vehicles. So for now, we'll focus on the Buick. Since this car is the first of several in this post-apocalyptic setting, I really wanted to experiment with rust. So I added different spiky bits along it and also some bars in the windows. These were all made from toothpicks, but the rust should disguise the wood grain. I also added some panels that I made from an old milk jug. I added rivets by poking the plastic with a pin, as I've seen someone do, probably Bill or Studson. And I glued them on mainly the passenger side, since I figured they wouldn't need much visibility. But then I couldn't tell which side had the rivet marks, so I kinda guessed, and I was right for one of the pieces. Probably be easier if I had used an opaque plastic instead, but for this car, the rust ended up covering the rivets anyway. At this point, the car needed a little bit more variation, so I added some mesh from an old screen around the driver's seat. I popped the wheels off the base so they couldn't get gummed up with paint, and then headed outside to prime. Fortunately, that was the day it decided to rain. Once the primer was dried, I dusted the interior piece with some powdered pastel. This gives a little more definition to the interior without spending a lot of time on something you can barely see. On to the rust. I took a page out of Bill's book and covered the entire thing with rust. Partway through, I realized I should paint the panels different colors so there's a little variation that hints that this is all scavenged bits and also breaks up the giant orange rust spot. I gave the rust a little bit of texture by mixing in a little bit of baking soda, which is a little tip I also got from Bill. This vehicle is really defined by its rust, so I decided to name it Tetanus on Wheels. Once I was satisfied with the complete disregard this vehicle's owners had for keeping this thing in tip-top shape, or even decent shape, I coated it with a matte spray finish. Now that is quality. Originally, I had added a bit of dust from the ground-up pastel to the bottom of the car, but the gloppy matte spray destroyed that effect, so I added a bit more back on. Normally, I would have chosen a more reddish color for the dust, but that would have blended in too much with the rust, so I went for a more tan dust. With that, it was finished. I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned if you'd like to see what I have in mind for the other cars I've picked out. And with that, I'll see you in the future.